now, 14 months later, not rebuilt it. I have made personal interventions between the contending parties for a peaceful resolution of the crisis, but my efforts have been largely ignored by the parties to the crisis. I am also aware that many well-meaning Nigerians, leaders of thought, and patriotic groups have also intervened at various times with the best of intentions to resolve the matter, but all their efforts were also to no avail. Right. Now, the president quoted the Supreme Court judgment, which he said, a government cannot be said to exist without one of the three arms that make up the government of a state under the 1999 Constitution as amended. In this case, the head of the executive arm of government has chosen to collapse the legislature to enable him govern without the legislature as a despot. As it is, there is no government in Rivers State. He is quoting the Supreme Court judgment.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
With the government not being in place as it were, don't you think the state could have been descending into anarchy and the president?
If you watch the trajectory of what is happening, first, the question that I ask is that, does the Constitution have in contemplation demolition of a House of Assembly as one of the factors? I think the president is rather being petty. If the governor demolished the House of Assembly with the intent, I don't know, for whichever it may, he may be right, be wrong, maybe malicious intention or whatever, or mischief, he demolished the House of Assembly. That is not a reason. It is not contemplated by the Constitution. That's not one of the reasons contained in Section 305, subsection 3, paragraph A to G. It is not contemplated there. And what we're trying to say is this. If there is imminent danger, the president should tell us. He is not the one to interpret the decision of the Supreme Court. And if you look at what is happening, like I said, the House of Assembly, led by Amafule, gave the governor 48 hours ultimatum to present his budget. The papers, the media have reported copiously and elaborately that the president tried to intervene, the part of the governor. And he has declared for a meeting. They have been very indisposed to attending the meeting with me. Look at the steps. We are both hearing the steps from each side. We can hear the steps from the pro-Fibora and also the anti-Fibora and the pro-House of Assembly. So what I'm trying to say is that the reasons stated by the president are not tenable. They're not tenable in law at all. Is there any imminent danger? Is there war? What is it? Is there a breakdown of law order in Rivers State? Assuming without considering that there is, who has the powers to restore public order, public safety? Who has the powers? The president has it. So we are saying that the reasons, to me, sound more political than constitutional, than lawful. The reasons are not enough. Breakdown of the House of Assembly, disobedience of the Supreme Court judgment. The man has taken steps. One, he said he dissolved the local government. It's part of the content of the Supreme Court judgment. He has said we are going to conduct election. It's part of it. He has said, I have tried. Let me go back and re-represent the budget before members of the entire members of the House of Assembly. It has become very impossible. They have made themselves very incommunicado. So what do you expect the man to do? So what I try to simply say that the president do has the powers to issue a proclamation of state of emergency. He has the powers. But has he satisfied the constitutional requirement? One of which is that, has he gone, are the reasons cogent enough to declare a state of emergency? Secondly, has he complied with section 2, subsection 2 of section 305? Has he communicated this to the National Assembly? 3, the reasons for the proclamation of the state of emergency, have they satisfied the requirement of the law? And thirdly, does he even have the powers to have removed the governor and the deputy governor and all other political structures? Does he have the powers? He does not have. Nowhere will you see in the Constitution, from the length and breadth of the Constitution, nowhere has it been mentioned. And you will discover that when Jonathan did it, he didn't remove anybody. When he did it to Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe, he did not. He took a different posture. He did not follow the template, the template which was followed by Obasanjo. The first was in 1962, and then you had Obasanjo and then Jonathan. Obasanjo followed the template of 1962. Jonathan deviated completely from it. He issued a proclamation, and he did not remove the governor or the deputy governor or other political structures within the state. And so the president does not have. What we're simply saying is that he does not have the powers. Even if he has the powers, the intention for this particular one is not tenable at all.
Anyway, you have mentioned quite repeatedly about he not satisfying the constitutional requirement, but yet again, he stated that this has already been gazetted and will be transmitted to the National Assembly for approval.
The Supreme Court has said it loud and clear that the proclamation of a state of emergency is not on television. In fact, it's a condition precedent. As soon as you issue it, you would have transmitted. Not, in fact, what he exercised yesterday at 7 o'clock was absolute powers. Absolute powers. And it will not, until you satisfy that requirement that says you send it. Because at this point in time, it is dicey. The National Assembly may not approve it. Yes, they have the powers. They may not approve it. They have the power. He must get the approval for it to become absolute.
In any case, the removal of a governor, like you mentioned,
yes,
following the precedent of a proclamation of a
yes,
state of emergency,
yes,
this is not the first of its kind. We had witnessed it during the Obasanjo time. He removed
and that is why I'm telling you that. And that's why I said
administrator appointed.
That's why,
and it stood the test.
Yes, that's why I'm telling you. He appointed General Chris Garba, and then for Plateau State, appointed Tunji Olorin for Ekiti State. But what the Supreme Court declared that it was unconstitutional, null and void. He did not have the powers to do that. The only way a governor of a state can be validly removed from office are the following factors: expiration of his tenure, that's one of it. 2, until he resigns. 3, impeachment, and then death, or where he's found, or where his stances where you can remove the governor. It's not by proclamation. Nowhere in the Constitution they say that he can remove them.
All right, we have now been joined by one of our lead discussants on the program. He is a seasoned administrator and currently a lecturer in the Department of Political Science at the Benue State University, Makurdi, Dr. Sebastian Agbinda. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to Press. Looking at the state of emergency in Rivers State, let me ask you, crisis appointed.
Developments for some time now, for over a year. It comes from godfather, godson relationship, and you have them all over the country, including in our own state here. It has to do with an inability to manage this relationship. We can, if you can, you shouldn't even allow the godfather, god executive position, because you have taken. You've seen it play out on the ground in very little development on account of distraction. The governor has been distracted, no question about it. You must be distracted when your relationship with your godfather is estranged. And then you have the judicial processes, endless. The president was quoting he said wasn't sure about 8 consolidated appeal processes that the Supreme Court sat over. He was quoting that. So it has played out in multifaceted dimensions. You have the peacemaking efforts, people intervening, statesmen intervening, the president himself intervening. It hasn't seen any abatement. You've continued to see that at every point, at a certain point, you think the whole thing is coming down, then it escalates. It's been escalatory, and everybody has been waiting to see how it will end. Will it be a soft landing? Will it be a disastrous landing? Will it be Wike, who is one of the players? Will it be the one who will step back or open? In the proclamation by the president that the governor stands and the deputy stand removed, the president is quoting some developments in the state. The Supreme Court said that effectively there has been no government in the state because one of the arms is not there.
Yes.
The assembly, that is the Constitution expects that you have 3 arms. You have the executive, you have legislature, you have the judiciary. Somehow, the belief is that it was the governor who knocked down, physically bulldozed the assembly. So physically, the assembly hasn't been there. From a judicial point of view, it has been an on and off thing. Today this group says we have variations, and that's a further confirmation that the assembly is not there. So what is there a government if one of the arms is not there? This is what the president invoked as one of the several invocations in taking his action yesterday.
All right. Let's take a trip to Abuja very quickly, where Jide Ojo is standing by on the program to also offer his thoughts on the program. Good morning, Mr. Jide Ojo, and thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Very well, we can hear you. Now, good morning once again, Mr. Ojo.
Yeah, good morning.
You have followed development in Rivers State. You have written tons of columns on this situation in your column on the Punch newspaper, for instance. Give us an understanding. The declaration of the state of emergency in Rivers State as proclaimed yesterday by President Bola Tinubu. How did you receive the news? Did you see it long coming?
No, I didn't actually see it coming. I thought it would be as a matter of last resort, not at this stage. That if all efforts and dialogue fails, that's when there should be state of emergency. As of yesterday, I believe that there was still room for dialogue and not a very strong gun tactics like this, because in this, it's a double loss for the people of Rivers State. As it were, all the people they elected in 2023 have been suspended. There is now a lot of bitterness. We now start having pipelines being blown up. I feel very strongly that if the president has cautioned the FCT minister and facilitated one-on-one discussion with both Fubara and Wike, perhaps this state of emergency could have been averted. But you see, even in that state of emergency declaration, the president seems to have very strong words for the governor, whom he believes didn't do much for the purpose of peace. But we do know, as of last week, several efforts that the governor has made to even present the budget to the Rivers State House of Assembly, and then the other camp being invasive, claiming that they did not receive the letter, the governor did not address the letter properly. Then they quickly passed 3 bills and asked the governor to sign, and then they adjourned that. I think the two warring factions didn't do much, but I believe that there was still room for mediation before this. If every other thing fails, then there could still be state of emergency. But as of yesterday, I don't believe that. For instance, my own position has been that the resolution to the Rivers State crisis does not lie in Rivers State, because the elders, the religious leaders, the opinion holders, the traditional rulers are already biased. They are for or against the two warring factions. And I've suggested that people in the National Peace Committee, people like General Abdulsalami Abubakar, Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka, and some other eminent Nigerians like Chief Emeka Anyaoku, and even General Yakubu Gowon could have been called in to say, please, our children, come, let's discuss this for the larger interest of Rivers State. But the president said he has mediated, but we do know, we do respect that the mediation facilitated by the president in December 2023 seems to have strengthened the hands of the pro-Wike lawmakers and the Wike's camp against that of the governor, and did not address the root cause of this challenge, which was basically about godfather politics. A godfather trying to trying to force a bitter pill down the throat of his godson. Is that political structure that you should have asked me, what is that political structure you said Similar Fubara wanted to take control of? And, look at what happened in Lagos. When there was an intra-assembly crisis, the president did not just leave it. The president sent emissary to mediate the crisis, even when they were in court. The president sent the former governor of Osun State, Bisi Akande, and former governor of Ogun State, Aremo Segun Oshoba, to go and mediate that crisis. Even after the mediation and the purported reinstatement of Obasa, you saw that the president himself last week called all the 40 assembly members to Abuja and have a tete-a-tete with them. You understand? That is, it didn't even after the sent emissary, after they have done recorded some modest achievement, the president still stepped in and invited all the 40 members of the assembly to a private discussion in Abuja. So I believe that the dialogue option was not exhausted before this state of emergency was declared. And now this has raised a number of constitutional challenges. For instance, does the president have power to suspend elected authority, like a governor and the assembly member? This is the first time in a state of emergency that both the governor, the deputy governor, and then the entire lawmakers of the two out of three arms of government will be suspended. In a democracy, we are not running military rule here. And then the sole administratorship is unknown to law. And so this is raising all manner of, and I believe it will have been cheaper for the president to, for instance, caution the FCT minister, or if he doesn't want to do publicly cautioning him, could have summoned him and summoned the Fubara, which are the two key dramatic personnel in this matter, to a private discussion. The one he did in December 2023 was to a larger forum, where over 100 people were present, and the governor's camp was in the minority. He couldn't speak up against the governor in that open forum. Okay. I think that there should have been a follow-up dialogue with the president, calling us two people, Nigeria. Go and call your subordinates or your loyalists or your foot soldiers to order. That could have been part of the negotiation before. If that now fails, then the president can wield the big stick by imposing a state of emergency.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that the mediation was not completed, but here the president in his broadcast, he mentioned that latest security reports made available to him indicated disturbing developments, including blowing up of pipelines by militants, which, according to him, the governor didn't take any action to curtail. Don't you think this could have been descending into anarchy in that part of Nigeria, and the president acted to forestall that?
Well, if I got you right, I think it's just calling a dog a bad name in order to hang it. That has mediated and all of that. Like I just said now, the mediation effort was perfunctory. It wasn't deep. And I'm just leaving the studio of Nigeria Television Authority before your call came in. Where, I made it very abundantly clear that when the FCT minister last week addressed had a public telecast with some selected journalists, live telecast with some selected. The choice of words of the FCT minister was very, very incendiary. It was very provocative. It was a rhetoric that was not needed in an atmosphere where you are trying to promote peace. You are calling people names. You are calling the governor boy. You are dismissing everybody. You dismissed Pandev as the worst organization. You don't believe any other person is right apart from you. You are saying that who has the monopoly of blowing up pipelines? Is it only Ijo, Ikwere people can blow up pipeline, this one, that's all. Now they have started blowing up pipeline. Let everybody blow it up. And let's see the money that they want to use to run the Nigerian economy. So, this leaves everybody, they said an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth will leave everybody blind and toothless. This can be averted. This should have been averted and give a matching order. Because the president actually had him by the jugular. If Wike is removed as minister today, his power will be weakened. His influence will be weakened. And he knows that. But because he perceives that the president needs him more than he needs the president, then he could do and undo. Because as some people are insinuating, maybe the president wants to keep him to win Rivers in 2027 and to win FCT. Recall that the president did not win FCT. In fact, he didn't even score up to 25% in the last general election. So there are perceptions that the reason why the president is dodging him will be because of 2027. But be that as it may, which may be a legitimate aspiration by a politician that he wants people who can win the next election for him, that should not be to the detriment of peace in his home state. It's not the first godfather that is known in Nigerian political history. Even right now, there are several states where the current governors were sponsored by the predecessors in their office. Look at Delta State, look at Ekiti State, look at even Cross River State, even Bayelsa. We know that the Senator Seriake Dickson was very instrumental in the emergence of the current governor of Bayelsa. None of them breathed down the neck of their successors the way that the Wike wanted Fubara to kowtow to his whims and caprices. And this is all about godfather politics, and it always has consequences. Because I'm also not unaware of what's going out in Benue State between the SGF and Reverend Father earlier, which even the talking has called them to a meeting. Sometimes was it last year?
Yes, Mr.
But I think the situation is still simmering.
Yes, so Mr. Ojo, for now, let's stay on the Rivers issue. And just before I let you go, the president, in declaring this state of emergency, quoted the Supreme Court judgment delivered on the 28th of February this year, have been committed by the governor of Rivers State. And he read a quote of that judgment that a government cannot be said to exist without one of the three arms that make up the government of the state under the 1999 Constitution as amended. And went on to say that in this regard, the governor chose to collapse the legislature. Don't you think the governor collapsed the legislature? And as he concluded, there is no government in Rivers State without the arm of government of the legislature existing.
See, whatever the president, that was an excerpt from about 60-page judgment of the Supreme Court. And it is very convenient for the president to select that aspect that the governor of Rivers State, similar Fubara, has not done enough, and has been running like a sole administrator or as a dictator, which are very strong words in my own view. But you see, there's something. The action and reaction are equal and opposite. Recall that they decided to defect. They even swore to an affidavit at the Federal High Court in Abuja to the fact that they have defected. So now the only reason that the lifeline that they had was that there were no records that they ever went to APC ward offices in their respective local government to register as a member of the APC, which is why that is the pathway, that's the gateway that they have been using to say, oh, we never defected. But there are documentary evidences, what we call in civil society means of verification. You swore to an affidavit, you said it on camera, we saw the APC leadership in Rivers welcoming you. So what further evidence? But because it's a point of law, the court, at least the presumption is that because they did not go to register for as a member of APC, that whatever declaration they made is null and void. But you see, that is the premise upon which the governor decided to be working with only 4 members. If the defection hasn't taken place as they purported, I'm not sure that the Fubara will have had will have wanted to collapse the state assembly. So don't forget what happened in Edo State, where out of 26 members, only 10 members were inaugurated, and that was less than enough. And they ran at the assembly for a whole tenure of Obaseki. How do you explain that? So if not for this whole issue of defection, I'm not sure Fubara will say willy-nilly he will not submit the budget to the state assembly. And why did there are efforts to mediate? Why should the state assembly issue an impeachment notice on the governor and the deputy when you are trying to mediate, when there should have been, they should have given room for mediation?
Okay.
We had them to a meeting last week, Monday, which they said was signed by the SSG, which is the meaning. The second time, the governor said he sent another letter, and that when he didn't receive response, he physically went to the assembly. They said they did not receive his correspondence. Then he wrote another one, which he said, was it today? He was coming to present the budget today. Now the road agency. Is it is an assembly that wants peace that will issue an impeachment notice, not just on the governor, but crises that have lingered for almost 2 years?
Okay.
So why do you want to remove her as well? It's just because they want to do away with everyone that may be pro-Fubara in this crisis, and then install their own surrogate
Right.
that will do their bidding. And
Done by Rivers people to at this critical time, he is urging all Rivers people to remain peaceful and law-abiding. He mentioned we will engage with relevant institutions to ensure that our democracy remains strong and that Rivers State continues to thrive. Going forward, what should be the solution to this impasse? Because the president mentioned the suspension is for an initial period of 6 months. Do you see it?
it's even too long to resolve this issue. Because this issue is about ego, it's about some unwritten gentlemanly agreements that the governor may have had with his estranged godfather. And once these two individuals, once there is the president or the independent eminent person should step in and try to mediate as independent, neutral, and unbiased and non-partisan party. I believe this issue can even be resolved in one meeting, not even in 1 week. In one meeting, it's just to extract commitments on the part of the two dramatic personnel, the FCT minister and then the governor. And from my own understanding, these 6 months of state of emergency does not even need to expire before the president will lift the state of emergency order. So even if in 1 week this issue is resolved and the two warring camps the president can extract commitments of calling their full soldiers, their loyalists to order, and they do so. I believe that even in a matter of days, the elected representatives of the people can be reinstated, because suspension, look at the one of Natasha. They are saying that, yes, 6 months suspension, but if you apologize, you can be recalled.
Right.
So the same thing, this does not need to wait for 6 months, because let me say this, the cost implication of having state of emergency in Rivers is very, very expensive, not just in terms of monetary terms, even in terms of capital flight, in terms of peace and security, in terms of, the sole administrator now is on funding because there is a Supreme Court decision to be withheld that once it resumes today. Which budget does he have to, who will pass his budget? That means he will have to rely on civil servants to bring together another budget and then send it to National Assembly for passing. In all of that, there are contractual agreements that the state has entered. There are contractors working on different projects. Who gets to pay them? Will the administrators, sole administrators be in a position to pay these contractors and all of that? So how do you even fund the governance system in these 6 months? Which is why I said the cost of this, the cost implication is very there. I was in Rivers State early this month, around 6 to, I left Rivers State on the 7th of March. I was there from 4th to 7th of March. You know, for a workshop, for a conference, if there is a threat to peace, I'm sure the organizer of that conference will take it elsewhere. Maybe they will take it to Uyo if they still want to have it in Niger Delta, or they will take it to Calabar. And that will be an economic loss for the River State. Okay. So the cost is, even in terms of there may be curfew order if the threat to security persists. Okay. And then will affect the ordinary citizens who are eking out a living on daily basis, who are just the foot soldiers, who are more like the minions. Because when they say two elephants, when they fight, it is the grass that suffers. Right. So it is even in the best interest of the president and the presidency to restore the normal elected representatives, so that the governance process can run smoothly, and then we'll look at the cost that to maintain the troops that have been deployed, both the police and military that have been deployed to rivers to maintain law and order. Look at the enormous cost to the state, which could have been averted if normalcy returns. So it is to extract that commitment from the dramatic personnel and leave the state of emergency or the proclamation, revoke it, and let will cut their losses as it were.
Jide Ojo, a public affairs commentator, a development consultant, and newspaper columnist, we thank you very much indeed for your valuable insights on the program as we discuss the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State. Thank you very much indeed, sir.
It's my pleasure. Do have a great day.
Have a great day too. Thank you. Okay, let me have your thoughts. Quickly react to some of the submissions made by Jide Ojo, Dr. Agbinda. You listen to him, Kim. Briefly, because we are due to engage with the listener.
If I were in the president's shoes, I would have touched the Godfather. It is easier to deal with Wike than to trigger the type of controversies around dealing with the governor, and because two of them have generated the crisis that you have. Indeed, if you were to apportion percentage, you would possibly give more to Wike. If he just said, look, Wike, I'm suspending you until the crisis in Rivers is resolved. If it is not resolved within 6 months, you will not come back into the cabinet. It will not generate the crisis that you have of the governor and the deputy. So if I were Mr. President, and I don't think it needs so much courage to so he could have suspended Wike from the cabinet alone. That's one option. We have seen that he was unwilling to play that. The other one is, having suspended the governor and declared state of emergency for 6 months, he should have done the same thing. So during this period, my minister for FCT will also be suspended. And I think the public would have received it better. And it would have been easier for Wike to come back into the cabinet than after 6 months than for the governor. Wike is critical to the presidency, to Mr. President. It's fairly obvious. He has one leg in the APC. Poison the atmosphere in the opposition or in government. You do it. It is done. Anywhere, if you have that opportunity, you play. Wike is not alone. He has a G5. They are there. They are extremely critical. They were critical in, ascendancy of Tinubu. Wike alone is not as powerful as Rivers itself didn't vote in the magnitude that either were suppressed or whatever, but they were not in that huge, numbers that you have seen, 1 million plus in the past. No, Rivers didn't come out that in those huge numbers. Now, I'm not saying Wike's hand is overplayed. No, he played a critical role in midwifing the presidency or President Tinubu. He has a group. He has a G5 group. Even if you suspended him, they will still be there. They will still play that role that the president wants them, or they have been playing in undermining the PDP and Fubara's problem, which Jide didn't talk about, seemed to have been that he may have, all of this is politics. Politics of, in the midst of the politics, you have to utilize the judiciary, you have to use presidential powers, you have to utilize the constitution, no matter how. But then, Fubara, I think, seemed to have been gravitating towards the new mega party. And that is extremely hostile territory. It's not that even if Fubara went to, we'd say, Amechi into the SDP or the so-called mega party, I'm not aware that he would have constituted any threat to Wike or to the APC nationwide. So now, if you suspended Wike and suspended the governor, you are unlikely to create the security crisis that may erupt now on the back of course, you have a naval officer, he's the one in charge of the place now. He knows the terrain, obviously. It's not just a naval officer who knows Akwa Ibom. Quite easily, the whole of the coastal south-south area should be, he should have access to how to deal with the capacities, the resources he will mobilize to deal with fallout from the declaration of state of emergency. But then the easier option to me would have been to be even-handed in a way that doesn't throw up too many constitutional controversies, not crisis, constitutional controversies, security crisis, and all that.
All right. Now, Barrister Ande, you also listened to Mr. Jidojo, but again, I would like us to reflect on the president's proclamation. He mentioned that despite appointing an administrator for the state who is a former chief of naval staff, Ibok Etebaz, the administrator will not make new laws and the judiciary will continue to function in its stead as an arm of government. React to this briefly before we engage with the listener.
All right, thank you very much. First, let me start with the comments made by Jide. I adopt them completely as mine. We have the same reasoning. Yeah, and back to where you just asked, you are saying that this is a government, and because the Constitution has guaranteed 3 arms of government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. That's amount to, and so the decision of the president amounts to approbating and reprobating at the same time. You say that the governor has scuttled the State House of Assembly, and that when you make this proclamation, you have also scuttled, completely suspended the activities of the governor, deputy governor, as well as that of the House of Assembly of Rivers State. It means that, and you are saying the judiciary will be effective. I don't know how effective they will be, because they will be sitting to do what? They will be sitting to look at criminal or civil matters that are petty, misdemeanors, or what will they be doing? Because one, you have an administrator, and the judiciary, I think the judiciary is simply there to determine cases, very petty cases, criminal cases, and civil matters. I'm sure also that he allowed the judiciary to exist simply for this reason. It was not for any ordinary. That's one aspect that you also have to look at. And another one is that you already know that administrators act by edict and decrees, as they used to do. It's an ex-military man. So it is difficult for you to determine the relationship between the administrator now and the judiciary. I'm sure that, one, because the chief judge of that state is not a member of the executive council. So under what basis would they be relating? So it is very difficult for you to spell out clearly what would be the role or what would be the synergy or what would be the relationship between the judiciary and the administrator. So I think he has just left them there simply to take care of some of these petty issues, criminal or civil matters that are totally not connected with the political crisis going on in Rivers State. And I'm also sure that it's also a calculative attempt in the sense that assuming he is cut to the powers of the judiciary, he would also have amounted to saying that, yeah, the president has his reason why he has decided to leave or appoint a sole administrator. But like we always say, even the appointment of a sole administrator or administrator of the state is unconstitutional. Where is it provided in the Constitution? It's nowhere.
I think the Constitution is silent on many things, and maybe with a review going on, some of these things should be factored in, because this is not the first time an administrator has been appointed. Like we mentioned earlier, the situation of Ekiti State as well as Plateau State administrators were appointed when declaration of a state of emergency.
Even in 1962, when you appointed Dr. Maji Kudumi, it was also unconstitutional. But at that time, the Constitution of 1960, I think the Constitution of 1960 made very passing provisions about the appointment of a sole administrator. But when it went to the process of amendment up to the 1999, that is no longer there. And we have what we call the canons of interpretation. The canon of interpretation says that what is not mentioned specifically is excluded completely. So you can't have the Constitution provide for virtually everything. So where the Constitution fails to mention a particular, it means that it does not exist at all. So you don't imply, you don't impute. That's what happens.
What happened over the issue of the doctrine of necessity? What's his name? Yaradua, on the demise of Yaradua and the ascendancy of Jonathan. So you see, there are certain things that the Constitution is. Of course, Jonathan still ran as president, and all that in the midst of it was midwifed by the doctrine of necessity. It was deployed by the House. It is not in the Constitution.
Yeah, which is also a political gimmick. It's also a political creation.
This is what we are talking about. It's not in the Constitution.
All right.
Now, the absence of such application is that you have a void. Now you have a situation in Rivers that is getting out of control. You know, you may fault the president over by saying, look, what you have done is extra constitutional. It's not in the Constitution. It's not in the Constitution. Now the other options are such that the governor is the only one who would declare a state of emergency himself.
Yeah, and then Section 4 says that the governor can invite him to come.
If he declared a state of emergency, it would generate. You would say it is constitutional. The state of emergency, of course, the assembly. It's not.
All right.
Military dictators don't kill the judiciary. All they do is they sideline.
They suspend the applications of
they sideline the lawmaking arm. That is the legislature. Right. Military rule effectively is governance without the legislature.
Yeah.
The judiciary is there, but they now conduct themselves accordingly, and then the so-called head of state, the despot, runs the place using martial law, uses decrees, uses edicts. We have seen this here.
So the judiciary. Let's take a short breather, and when we're back, we'll start engaging with the listener. Stay with us, please. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. If you are just tuning in, the program is Perspectives on iGet Radio. We are discussing the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State by President Bola Tinubu. You can phone in on the number 0814-335-9292. The number, once again, is 0814-335-9292. In the meantime, the SMS line is also available, 0912-699-9404. 0912-699-9404. The line is available on WhatsApp as well. Please remember to include your full name and where you are sending your message from. For the call line, once you connect with us, we'd like to know your full name and where you're calling from. Please keep your submission very civil and straightforward. No name calling. Be very sensitive that we are not inflaming passions on the program. The opinions of our callers and, of course, the discussants are entirely theirs. Good morning and thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Good morning.
Welcome to the program.
Yeah, my name is Barrister Tese Udzu. I am calling from High Level Makodi.
Okay, good to have you join us.
Yeah, thank you. About the issue in question, the suspension of, the declaration of state of emergency in River State. I think my friend in the studio has done a good job in respect to law, and my uncle also in the studio, Sebastian Egbeda, has also done a good job on the political side. But what I find omitted is that no one of them is citing the other situations in the country where a state of emergencies were not declared. For instance, when the Niger Delta Avengers blew up oil pipelines in the southern states, President Buhari initiated a military expedition known as the Operation Python Dance, which handled the situation almost effectively without declaring the state of emergency. Secondly, IPOP had been carrying out activities that were inimical to a complete breakdown of law and order in the southeastern states. That too could have attracted a state of emergency, but none of the governments, including this one, found it necessary to declare a state of emergency. Now that the state of affairs in rivers does not attract or should not attract a state of emergency, the president has declared a state of emergency. After the 27 lawmakers have been in the state of emergency, there was a declaration of a vacant seat. No one declared the state of emergency. Now that they have been reconstituted, there's a declaration of emergency. So I'm confused about that, and I think that by discussing in the studio should also look at this aspect and throw more light to the public. That's my point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Barrister Ozo. We appreciate you for calling in. Anyway, the president mentioned the circumstances warranting the declaration of the state of emergency, even though the panelists are questioning it. We would like to hear from you as well. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us. Hello. Okay, you are on, but we can barely hear you. 0814-335-9292. The SMS line is 0912-699-9404. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives. Hello, good morning.
In the house. Good morning, good morning, guests in the house.
Thank you.
Good morning.
My name is Tesfa SP, reporting from KN, Kano, northwest part of Nigeria this morning.
All right.
Well, you see, we are in the democracy setting. Most cases, those things do occur. This is not the first time. The two guests had in the house there, they have enumerated most instances, this thing that particular issue that is happening in River State now. To me, the president declaring state of emergency, then removing the governor and the deputy, I think it's not a good step in the right direction. During Obasanjo regime, the same thing happened to, I think, Plateau, but the governor was there. So to me, I think this issue has been mingling, I think, years ago. The president, I know the president have waited, but he did not yet possible result. The best thing is to do is to call the two key partners, that is the minister and the governor. As he has suspended the governor, both of them should be paid away so that even though if he's given to administration, I think it would much better. But suspending the governor and the deputy is not a right direction. We are in the democracy setting. So those people voted them to office.
Okay.
So the president should look into the issue and resolve it amicably. I think by that we have a better nation. Thank you and God.
Thank you very much, Stephen. We appreciate you. In any case, the case of Joshua Dare in Plateau State, an administrator was also appointed, so we guide the public right. Thank you for your position. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. My name is Mr. Achimi Oguche, calling from Modern Market Road.
Okay.
Yes, I first and foremost I want to appreciate the discussant in the studio and the analyst from Abuja, Mr. Ajide Ojo, has spoken my mind. You see, this country, you cannot solve problem of illegality with illegality. Our president, in his declaration of state of emergency over River State, is pure illegality. The issue at hand has not gone beyond repairs. He has not gone beyond mediation. But because he's interested in Wike and 2027 general election, he's always citing Wike and castigating Fubara. How on earth will you go and suspend elected governor? He's quoting the Supreme Court judgment that Fubara suspended the legislative legislative arm of government. Now he himself now have suspended the executive arm and the legislative arm. You see, the problem of this country is the judiciary, as I've always said. They will go to Supreme Court now. Supreme Court will give you a different interpretation of what is happening. Meanwhile, Supreme Court have ruled over issue of state of emergency before, but they will go there now. The story now will be a different thing. What even stopped him from going to the National Assembly before promulgating the state of emergency? So the issue now is that the governor has addressed his people. Everybody should calm down. But I expect the president to call Nyesom Wike. He should suspend Nyesom Wike if you want peace, because he's giving long road for Wike, and because you cannot preach for peace when there is no justice.
Okay.
So
thank you.
We must take the peace of this country serious.
Thank you.
So that is my take. Thank you.
We appreciate you. Thank you for calling in. Please, let's try to be brief once you connect with us. And to describe the action of the president as an illegality, I think that was too harsh. The president is the president of the country. He addressed the nation and quoted the constitution. So we should be careful with our submissions too. Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, good morning, presenter and the guests in the studio.
Thank you.
Yes, my name is Augustine Edo. I'm calling from Uruku, Makodi.
All right.
Yes, thank you very much. The act of the Mr. Presidency declaring state of emergency in River State is an act of desperation. It is a misgiving. If only the president can think about now is how to win River State in 2027. In fact, he's the one that is setting fire on the River State.
No.
Who is Wike? Wike has ruled.
Hello, Edo. Edo, are you listening? Sir. Please, let's be careful with our statements. The president is the president of the country. He cannot. We should be guided. The president, no president should set fire on any part of the territory he's governing. So be careful. Please be careful with your submission, because this is a public conversation we're having.
Yes, all right. Okay, thank you very much.
Very well.
Now, whatever that is happening in Rivers is a political crisis. Was there any security tension in River State that cannot be handled? He has never called Wike to order. All he has been doing, he has been subduing the governor, as if the governor is just a hand-picked person, like as if it's as the way he has picked Wike. The governor is being elected; he has the mandate of the river people, and the Wike is just an appointee. He just appointed Wike. So why is he protecting Wike to the extent of causing more harm in River State than the people of River State? Now we have the issue of insecurity around Nigeria. Even in Benue State, most of the parts, our local people now cannot have access to their farm. Is that not enough for the Mr. President to declare state of emergency on insecurity? What about the food inflation? People are suffering. The Mr. President, what they are after is 2027. You know, now it's now that they are going to generate insecurity in that state. River State, once anything happens, starts from River State to spread around. So they should try with caution.
All right.
And it is my prayer that they should resolve this issue without to avoid escalation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's exactly what we want, and that is what we want to find as discussion, because it's resolving it. Thank you, sir.
My name is Fiase.
All right. Fiase, where are you written us from?
From BSU this morning.
Very well.
The declaration of the state of emergency came as a surprise to so many other persons. Same, I am in that position too. Because I had expected that there should be a further dialogue between the president and the parties involved, where there should be a form of agreement reached by all the parties. Because that was exactly a clash of interest between the two stakeholders who were involved. I brought you into the system, and then why would you leave me? And that's a situation whereby you are the developer of an application, and at any point you want to change any module, you go back and then you destabilize the process which is ongoing to do that, which is not correct. And then on the part of lawyers, when they jump into defending some things, sometimes I sit back to imagine what exactly they are trying to say. This is just an example of what I'm trying to say. You see, they are always saying careful manner, but they are the ones who are always hiding, not to explain to Nigerians what exactly is the problem in our constitution. It is at this point in time, it is where Nigerians will rise up to at least look at the constitution again and know where there are issues that it can be reviewed. Because when such issues like this come on board, we try to imagine where we are headed. And exactly, it's quite something bringing in so administrators. You look at this particular case is quite different. I am not defending Fubara and Wike or whosoever and the president, but we are just surprised that it should have given a very good time limit so that both parties can discuss. It's not a one-day thing.
All right.
And then my surprise, let me make this point and then go.
Briefly, because you have
he
the
said,
time.
he said the state of emergency is an initial period of 6 months. So we are expecting further months to join on that 6 months. I think we need to think.
All right. Thank you very much, Vase, for your position. Appreciate you for calling in. 0814-335-9292. Let's hear from you what you make of the declaration of the state of emergency in Rivers State and how a solution can be arrived at. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Nathaniel.
Thank you,
Mr. Sunday Uchiu calling from Demekwe, the young good man.
Okay.
Today, Ojo from Abuja. You have said, for me, I'm a peace meeting. We'll have a peace committee in Nigeria. Let him call them, even though he has declared a state of emergency. It doesn't stop him from making peace. Let him call a peace meeting so that they will sit, people like Yakubu them, and then they will sit and discuss this issue as it is hot. Because if we allow this thing to go up to that 6 months that he's saying, we don't know. Administrator is not from the river state, and the river will not happy seeing another person to come and rule them, not a military time, for that 6 months. I don't know how he will generate his revenue to kick start and then move the government of River State, calling on the advisors to the president to mediate with him, that he call a peace meeting. And that is my take, so that everything will be settled in peace, not in pieces.
Thank you.
Because we don't know what tomorrow will be. Thank you very much. God bless us.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you for calling. National Peace Committee should be involved. Anyway, the declaration of the state of emergency is on. I think it doesn't foreclose that option. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Nathaniel.
Thank you, sir.
This is You see, Mr. President's intervention at this point, to me, is a correct measure. One, you see, you have two children, the first one and the second one. When they are fighting, sometimes you try to caution the younger one. Not that you are happy with what the first one is doing, but it's for peace to reign. It is very easy to deal with Wiki, but Mr. President, as the Jide was talking, he has a lot of values, political values in that man, and then also minding the economic statute of that state. He has to do this kind of thing because the first thing, Fubara was a recipient and Wike is a donor. First, the recipient went to pull down another arm of government. The pulling down of the State Assembly was a very big mistake from the governor of Rivers State. Secondly, when the fight was getting tougher, there was some agitation that the state governor has some militias. And immediately when they started the impeachment process, they started blowing up the crude oil pipe. He's totally against the governor. Not everybody is happy with what Wike is doing. Wike is becoming general, and he has lost out the sympathy of almost all Nigerians. But what the president did was the correct thing. He cannot, because of Wike, do away with the people of Rivers State. So for him to suspend the State Assembly, which are the governor, I think is 1-1. And I think I appreciate the president for that intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling, for your objective submission. Of course, let's hear from you as well. We'd like to know how you feel about the development. Good morning and thank you for joining us. Hello. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Emeka Anyok from Norfolk. I am of the opinion that as the president has suspended the House of Assembly and the governor, I am of the opinion that we also should be suspended for 6 months so that they will have a peace talk in that area. Thank you very much. God bless I get treasure and let's go through as discussing there.
All right.
If we get suspended, I think everything will be okay. Our Rivers people will come to their right thinking. So if living wicked here is their living poor problem. Thank you very much.
Emeka Nyogo, thank you for calling in. Anyway, so many commentators, including you, the analysts here, have mentioned Wiki, but the president's broadcast did not in any way have to do with Wiki. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
This is Johnson Teso calling from Gwe East Lagos area of Benue State.
Okay, which part of Gwe East, Johnson?
Precisely, Alede.
All right. Go ahead,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your program and the parties that are involved in this issue. This is something that concerns security of a state. The lives, properties that are in that state, they are at stake. And the president have made it very, very clear that he has made several attempts to come into the crisis, but it has proven avail. And he has quoted a constitution that has warranted him to bring about the state of emergency. So let us not be partisan in this matter. The first thing to be considered is that let the lives and properties of that state, let them be secured first, so that no mercy will be restored. And after that, we'll talk about any other thing.
Okay. Security of the people of Rivers State is morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. This is Comrade Yusuf Sabodiko from China, particularly in Nasarawa State.
Okay, thank you. Did you say Yusuf Diko?
Yusuf Sabodiko, yes, sir.
Thank you, Yusuf. Go ahead.
My simple submission is that, all what happened begin from the beginning to the level we are here. What brought about is all about self-center in a short brief. Self-center in the sense that from the side of Wike and the presidency, because the way they take the matter, they take it in the side of serving their interests, not the nation. Because you can see what is happening there. The Fubara, what he's doing is trying to pursue the interests of the common man in the state. But the Wike is looking at his own side, that he has to be subject to him. Subject to him in the sense that whatever he wish for or whatever he wants for, let the Fubara go and do it. Which is what Fubara look at it as a slave. He has to do it for the purpose of the masses so that all the masses will benefit from the dividend of democracy. So at least, what brought about all this kind of, drama, because he wanted to influence it at the expense of his own interest, which, will not be,
Okay, so Yusuf, now that the president has declared a state of emergency, will that end the drama? Oh, we lost connection with Yusuf already. Quite unfortunate. All the same, thank you for calling in. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning. I'll get with you. This is Gabriel Bello.
Gabriel Bello from where?
From Modern Market in Makodi.
Okay, Gabriel, go ahead. You sound very distant from your phone anyway.
I would not like to comment on what the president has already done. He is the president. He will have his way, but I will have my say. I think we are not practicing the democracy. We are just having a facade or something that looks like a democracy, but it is not. Because the way Nigeria is being run like a private business, like an oligarchy. Like we have a group of people that are more Nigerian than others. And what I see in future is not with this country. We have to have a round-table conversation. All the stakeholders have to sit and then think of a way forward, because Nigeria cannot continue on this path. It cannot. It cannot take by the citizens of that state. I mean, a government that does not value human life. People have been massacred from this husband attack in different states. Even where I'm speaking from right now, a state of emergency has not been declared. And when you have a pipeline explosion, so is it that the government values oil more than its citizens? The government has to answer these questions, please. Thank you.
All right, Gabriel Nilo, thank you for calling in. Let's take some messages before we come back. Good morning, I get radio. President Tinubu has acted according to law, and that declaration is a welcome development, meaning that the proclamation was backed up with reasons, and I think the judiciary should be mindful of how laws are interpreted. Let's keep away politics in this. All your guests have admitted to the godfather-godson relationship as the real cause of the declaration. We can't shy away from the fact that such a schism exists in Benue. I appeal to our political leaders to sheathe their swords for the good of our dear state. Thank you, Gabriel Nilo from Honor Occupy Extension in Makodi. Gabriel, we appreciate your message. Thanks for participating on the program. Good morning, the presenter and guests in the house. My name is Kanti Michael from Gado Villa. Your guests have spoken well as regards the topic. The President Tinubu is simply making arrangements towards 2027 to have rivers and other states which may be a threat to him. By declaring the state of emergency rivers, he invited anarchy in that state already. My prayer is that all parties involved should come together to see how this can be resolved amicably. Kanti Michael, we thank you for your participation in the program. Good morning, presenter, with your guest. What happened in 2025 is a reminder that ours is not a democracy. This cannot happen anywhere in the world except in Nigeria. Democracy thrives by negotiations, active participation, and the rule of law, not dictatorship. We should by now allow our democracy to start growing. But this superhuman behavior, quite sad. Joe Kennedy from International Market in Makodi. Joe Kennedy, thank you for your message. Thanks for participating on the program. And we have another one here in our WhatsApp box, which says, good morning to you and the guest. President of Nigeria does not have the constitutional right to suspend or remove an elected governor of a state. According to the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended, Nigeria operates a federal system where the federal and state governments are independent within their own spheres. A state governor can only be removed from office through impeachment by the House of Assembly under Section 188 of the Constitution, court order or election tribunal ruling, for example, in cases of election malpractices, constitutional breaches. So unless there is a military coup, which is unconstitutional, the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State and the removal from the office of the governor, his deputy, and lawmakers by Tinubu is an abuse of power, reckless, and a coup and a crime against the good people of Rivers State, dangerous to our nascent democracy, illegal, unlawful, and unconstitutional. It must be challenged and never allowed. From Cole Ephraim, Welfare Quarters. Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah. Yes, your network is very unstable, so we can't. It's breaking right away. We can't even get you.
Okay, I'm changing the position now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, speak on.
Okay, my name is Mike.
Mike. Okay. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Declaring a state of emergency when there is chaos, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But from the decision the president made before declaring the state of emergencies, bias, permit me to use that word. There are bodies involved, there are persons involved. But here we have just the governor has been suspended, the governor of his deputy being suspended. How about the bodies involved? For instance, the minister. I read the speech. There was nowhere on Wiki. So I don't think the decision is it's okay. The decision where being placed before declaring the state of emergency.
Okay, Gadi, thank you. Let's have you go now because the network is very unfriendly. Let's pause on the course temporarily and come back. Doctor, lawmakers who have been suspended as well pay allegiance to Wiki. Is their suspension not Wiki indirectly being affected in the whole political crisis in Rivers State with this declaration of a state of emergency?
First, acknowledge that I had said here that Wiki ought to have been suspended too for some period to bring about balance, some form of equity and balance, because he is the godfather, is the godson. You, under the circumstances, is scot-free. There are quite a number of positions that you can. The president, Garuliti, talks a lot, so the president can say, look, given the circumstances of Fubara's suspension, can you lie low for some time, talk less, don't get into it's quite difficult to hold him down if you have to. But then as analysts, we have to play up these options. I doubt if he can understand on his own. He should have said, look, because there are certain circumstances, you go into arbitrate between a wife and a husband, and then you pile the fault on the husband. Then quietly, you are able to resolve the matter because the wife gets away feeling that the blame was shipped to the husband. But then in the background, you tell the husband, look, you are truly at fault. You are the one at fault. I didn't want to publicly denounce you in front of your head of the family and all that and all that. Wike is supposed to advise himself in this circumstance to lie low, not to go out and gloat, which he's used to. The other option is Mr. President actually calling his attention to the fact that, look, Mr. Minister, you could easily have been suspended, but I didn't. So, but for now, don't talk too much about, don't be overwhelmed by triumphalism. He is likely to going out with a flag, waving and saying is the triumphant. Now, having said all that, I still believe that if Mr. President hadn't been patient, something ought to have happened when the governor knocked down the assembly. That was when there was no, you say that there's no democracy when the legislature is not there. You willfully grab some bulldozers, you can incapacitate the Obasanjo Kadibo National Assembly, where a sitting governor grabs some. That was when democracy, that is when Tinubu would have taken action. But he was patient enough. We have to be to be careful when we seem to say that what Tinubu did is out of hand. A sitting president, as it were, we're running a democracy. Sitting president cannot sit there and endlessly indulge in the dialogue option, and then the governor is not playing by the rules incrementally. It can't happen like that, because the impression you give to the other states is that they can do the same thing. Another state can now assail the judiciary. Another one can assail the military. Another one can assail journalists.
Without any consequence.
Without any consequence. It can't go on. Something had to happen. And under the circumstances, just like I was talking about the doctrine of necessity. There are certain issues that are not constitutional, but then they play out. Obasanjo, we're not borrow from Obasanjo's toolbox. But then, even after Obasanjo, if our lawmakers were more proactive, what they should have done is, if Obasanjo's actions in Plateau were unconstitutional, they ought to have brought out some new law that would give the president, in the U.S., for instance, I keep imagining what happened over January 6th during the
attack on the Capitol.
The attack it was an attack by a mob. And you understand that the president was impeached thereafter. Because the fingerprints were there. It was an attack, a fiscal attack. Security men died and all that. It was the Congress wasn't knocked down. Now you're a governor, and the fingerprints are there. Grab some boys, they knock down physically. They bulldoze it's not about taking the mess. This is a model in Rivers State. I've not heard about it well. The assembly was attacked, but it wasn't a democracy during the Soviet era, 1991 thereabout, as the Soviet Union was collapsing. Similar to the type of it wasn't raised down.
All
so
right.
So we shouldn't. We must sympathize with the president, even if you want to be so picky about the Constitution and all that.
All right.
What Fubara did deserves action earlier than what the president did yesterday. It could have been earlier.
All right. You are last caller on the program, and we'll give you just 30 seconds to talk to us. Good morning.
Thank you, Nat. Thank you to all the discussants in the studio.
Thank you.
To the political scientists, thank you so much. You've helped us clear some of the air. First of all, I want to say
yes.
First
of all, let's know your name.
My name is Friday Ogbodo from International Market.
All right.
Thank you. Nobody is bigger than the state and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is where democracy stands, and that is where democracy ends. The case in Rivers State, I think we just opposed it a few days ago and talked about the rule of law.
Yes.
As it is today, it is unknown fact that the governor was the one who first of all set ablaze the assembly, brought bulldozer in the middle of the night and demolished the assembly. This is unconstitutional. President intervened of war that is important to this nation. And lawyers who will always go against a judgment of a Supreme Court, trying to juxtapose their interests after judgment of the Supreme Court as far as the issue of Rivers State is concerned. Nobody has anything to say. But we keep seeing lawyers come and condemn the judgment. And this is also fueling the crisis. That's why the court has said this is what should be done. I don't think anybody has any issue whatsoever.
Thank you,
Friday. Let me say this.
Let's conclude here. Let's conclude here.
Okay, let me make my submission.
I'm sorry, we have to let you go. Thank you, because we do not have time. You are last caller. We give you 30 seconds. You took well beyond that. All the same, thanks for your position. That's our last call on the program. Now, Barrister Andy, on this same issue, apart from the wicked angle of it, let's look at an administrator has been appointed. The president mentioned he will not make laws, and however, he is free to formulate regulations as may be found necessary to do his job. I'm quoting the statement. But such regulations will need to be considered and approved by the Federal Executive Council and promulgated by the president for the state. What is the legal implication of this for the Rivers people?
Yeah, you agree with me that a constitutional problem has already been created. Like I said, in the first instance, the president has the powers to issue a declaration for state of emergency. The question is, does he have the powers to appoint a sole administrator? So even if he doesn't have, he's the generalissimo of Nigeria and he has done so. So it's left for the courts to interpret whether the action is right or wrong. But you see, the issue is that whatever the president has said, the regulations, that he has the right to promulgate regulations, take decisions that will be subject to the approval of the Federal Executive Council. Is it constitutional? Are they provided in the Constitution? I don't know whether the president is going to give him a template upon which he's going to work, formulate those policies. But so long as it's there as the sole administrator, it happened in 1962, it happened during Obasanjo's administration, as well as Jonathan. And so it is not a strange thing. And I'm sure that maybe there's a template, how Majo Kudume worked, how Chris Garba and Oloru worked. So I'm sure he's going to give him a template. This is what you're required to do, as he has stated very openly. But there's going to be a political or a constitutional problem, as it is not provided in the Constitution. Let us see what happens. But constitutionally, there's no provision for that. So the sole administrator, as much as he's been appointed, looks like whatever he's going to do in Rivers State is subject to approval or final regulations by the Federal Executive Council. What then is the position of the National Assembly? Because if you look at Section 11 of the Constitution, it says that the making of laws or the governing of Rivers State now becomes a cooperative endeavor between the National Assembly and the sole administrator. Ordinarily, what the contemplation of that provision says that it should have been the workings between the State House of Assembly and the National Assembly. But then you don't have a State House of Assembly. So you're going to apply Section 11 in such a way that now the sole administrator will now work hand in hand with the National Assembly.
All right. Now, still on this, the federal government, the president, the declarations he said has been published in the Federal Gazette, a copy of which has been forwarded to the National Assembly in accordance with the Constitution.
That is speculative. Where did he say he has forwarded it?
In the if you listen to the broadcast in the conclusion,
yes.
He said
yes.
This declaration has been published.
Yes, that's
in
a
the
condition.
Federal Gazette.
Yeah, that's a
copy of which has been forwarded to the National Assembly
Very good.
accordance with the Constitution.
Very good. Yeah, that's right. Because that's the condition precedent.
Yes.
We are now expecting, all Nigerians are expecting to see the approval from the National Assembly, because you are supposed to convey it, transmit it to the Senate President as well as the Speaker of the House of Representatives. They are going to sit and approve and say, fine and good, because you're going to do it with the details of the proclamation. And so the National Assembly, we're waiting to see in a few days, we'll see as events unfold, to see what the Senate will say and what the House of Representatives will also say.
All right, because I will not give you another time.
Yes.
The gentleman in the midst of the storm, that is the suspended governor of Rivers State,
yes,
Siminalayi Fubara, he has said, he issued a statement, at this critical time, and I urge all Rivers people to remain peaceful and law-abiding. We will engage with relevant institutions to ensure that our democracy remains strong and the Rivers State continues to thrive. Do you see an end to this with the governor's remarks?
You see, that is actually what one expects. It's commonplace. You expect that when this kind of thing happens, the first thing is for the governor to caution his supporters, because tempers will surely rise. Like you're saying, the job people are saying that this is a blow to them. They're not happy. And you know they issue threats. So it's one of the cautionary words for his supporters as well as his community, as well as people who are his pro. So it's a cautionary thing. But look at what he said. Look at the follow-up. He said, we are going to consult with the relevant institutions to see what happens. And I tell you, he's not going to allow it end at that. He may surely consult widely. And I'm sure he's going to go back to the court again for interpretation.
All right, Dr. Ogbida, just 1 minute of your concluding thoughts. No more than that, because our time is up already.
Like I said earlier, Wike should talk less in the circumstance. That's one. That's on his own. The Mr. President should also call on him to play triumphalism. He should be statesmanly and quiet. I know it's a very difficult option for him, but I think that is the advice in the circumstance. Also, I don't see the president having problems with the National Assembly, given their output. They are going to pass through. They are going to rubber stamp, you would say, what he wants. They will,
okay, you have a predetermined mind that it's going to be a rubber stamp.
Yeah, they will not.
Yeah, of course.
Even given the security situation in the now, I want you also to take note of the fact that consider that Fubara refused. He said, no, it's unconstitutional. I'm not going to concede to this. He would have been arrested. This is where the power of the state comes in. He could easily have been arrested. That's one.
Yeah.
Secondly, if he made a statement that appeared insightful after he conceded to the suspension, he would have been arrested too.
All right.
So he understands that under the circumstances, he needs to play by certain rules. Go back to the judiciary. That is apparently that is what he's talking about. Go to the judiciary. He is going to be calmer now. He will regret that he bombed the assembly.
All right.
And he's going to be more reconciliatory in the present circumstance. That is the best option for him in the circumstance.
Dr. Sebastian Agbinda is a seasoned administrator and a lecturer in the Department of Political Science at the Benue State University, Makurdi, and Barrister Polycarp and a legal practitioner, public affairs commentator. They both joined us on this edition to analyze the declaration of the state of emergency in Rivers State. I thank you both for your valuable insights on the program.
Thank you so much. Nice being here. Yeah.
Earlier on, we had a public affairs analyst who joined us virtually from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, Mr. Jido Ojo. We are grateful to him. Dear listener, that's our program today. We are here at Target Radio and will continue to monitor the development and bring you updates of the situation in Rivers State as it unfolds. Join us on Friday for a fresh edition. I am Nathaniel, and now have yourself a great week ahead. Goodbye.